It was me, as I would be in the future. I knew you were coming, the future Rachel said. After all, I was you. Once I stood right where you stand now, and looked just like you look now, and saw myself as I am today. She sounded perfectly calm, but her eyes flickered quickly to Axe, then back to me. Visser 3 shook his head in amusement. If only I had known from the start that you were humans. For so long I believed you were Andalites, until at last we caught you. I felt strangely calm, considering what was happening. I was face to face with Visser 3, who was now Visser 1. I was face to face with my own future. You're a controller, I said to the older me. Of course, she said. She smiled, a cruel smile, not at all like mine. We won. You all led us on a nice chase, but in the end we won. This planet is Yeerk territory. The human race has achieved its destiny as hosts for the Yeerk race. If you know so much, how did we come to be here in the future? Marco asked. An Ellimist brought you here, Visser 3 said. In your own time you face a choice. The Ellimist has brought you 6 humans, you 5 humans and 1 Andalite, here to show you a future, to show you the future. Soon he will return you to your own time. What choice did we make? I asked. The older Rachel smiled her cruel smile. The right one, obviously. Everything has worked out perfectly. Yeah, said Jake defiantly. Maybe not. The Ellimist brought us here to help us make a choice. So what if we go back to our own time and decide to accept the Ellimist's offer? Then Rachel won't be around to be turned into a controller. She'll be with the rest of us on whatever planet the Ellimist takes us to. I watched closely for any reaction to my older self. Nothing. Not a flicker. And yet there was something. She was trying to hide something. You know what we decided. But still, here you are, I said. So either you're here to change what I decided, except no, then it might change all of this, or else you're here because you being here is what caused me to decide whatever I decided. Confusing, isn't it? Visser 3 sneered. I don't know how the Ellimist keeps it all straight. Let's leave, Cassie said suddenly. I don't like this place, and I don't like these 2 creatures. But Cassie, I'm your best friend, my older self said mockingly. No, you're not. Maybe Rachel is still alive in there somewhere, but what you are is a Yeerk. Cassie started to turn away. As she did, she tripped. She fell against me. Suddenly, the older Rachel was there. She grabbed me and held my arm steady so I didn't fall. But to Axe, it must have looked like she was lunging at me. His tail whipped forward in the blink of an eye. Axe's quivering blade was pressed against the older Rachel's throat. Her eyes went wide with fear. She shot a glance at Visser 3. And to my amazement, Visser 3 seemed frozen. He was confused. His main eyes narrowed. He looked from Axe to the older Rachel to me. Suddenly I knew. This wasn't in the script, was it? I asked him. This wasn't supposed to happen. Something has changed. It's Axe, isn't it? You said 6 humans before. That's what you expected to find. That's what Rachel told you would happen. But the future changed, hasn't it? Something is different. Visser 3 glared at me, and now he dropped the pretense of politeness. Do you know what I did when I finally caught you and your little band of Animorphs? Do you know what I did? I gave each of you to a trusted lieutenant, and once you belonged to us, once you were mine, I killed your bird friend here and we roasted his body. Visser 3 leaned close to me. He was tough and stringy, but we added a sauce you humans have. Barbecue, I believe it's called. And then your friend Tobias was delicious. You had a leg, as I recall. You ate it and laughed. I really wanted to morph right then. I really wanted to become the grizzly bear and tear Visser 3 a few new holes. But there were hundreds of controllers around, and while I was morphing, I would be vulnerable. Axe still had his tail blade pressed against the older Rachel's throat. He can't hurt us, Axe said. He can't do a thing to us. If he does, it would change history. He doesn't know how that would work out. Good point, Axe, Jake said. He met my gaze. He had a dangerous, angry look in his eyes. He can't hurt us, but the reverse. Well, excellent point, I agreed. I focused my mind on the grizzly bear. So, Visser 3, you killed my friend Tobias and roasted him over a fire? I was beginning to change. So was Jake. I have 100 Hork-Bajir I can call, Visser 3 said. So call them, Marco said. Maybe one of them will get careless with a Draken beam and kill one of us. How do you suppose that'll change the past? Hard to tell, isn't it? Claws had sprouted from my fingers. Coarse brown fur was covering my body. I could feel the surge of power as it became more bear than human. Visser, the older Rachel said tersely. What do we do? We? Visser 3 said. We do nothing. I retreat. Visser 3 began backing away, but I wasn't about to let him go. I had him. After all the pain he had caused, I had him. After all the damage he had done, he was now powerless. I did not wait until the last of my human features were submerged. I was bare enough. I charged. Bears are very large and look sort of clumsy, but they can be very fast. Now, you filth, let's see who eats who. I barreled toward him. He turned to run, but he had turned too late. I hit him. 800 pounds fast-moving bear hit Visser 3 in the flank and brought him down hard. I drew back one huge claw and swung it with all my might. My hand slapped the trunk of a tree. My human hand. Ow! I was human again. I was in the woods behind Cassie's farm. The others were all there as well. Tobias, once again a hawk, perched on a branch overhead. No, I am sick of this, I yelled. I slammed the tree again in sheer frustration. I'm sick of this. I had him. Cassie came over and put her arm around my shoulders. It doesn't matter. That's a Visser 3 who doesn't exist. I'm so sick of this, I said, a little more softly. What's the point? What's the point of anything? We know the future now. We know what happens if we decide to stay and fight. I felt lost. The last ounce of energy just seeped away from me. It was too much. Too many things to deal with. And what was the point? What did it even matter what I did? I flopped down onto the grass and pine needle-covered ground and rested my head in my hands. I was done. Done trying to make sense of a world where I could be jerked back and forth like a puppet. The six of us just lay there on the floor of pine needles for a while, staring, thinking, letting it all sink in. It was over. The war was done, and we had lost. It could still be an Elemis trick, X said half-heartedly. No, I said flatly. You know it's not a trick, X. At least, not the way you mean. If the Elemist wanted to force us to do something, he has more than enough power. We need to think this through, Jake said wearily. I shrugged. You think it through. I'm tired of thinking. I was just about to vote when the Elemist dragged us off for a little show and tell. I was about to be good old Rachel and vote no. I was going to be tough one more time, but I'm changing my vote. I'm not going to end up a controller. That's not going to happen. Not to me. And if that means I'm running away, too bad. I changed my vote. You know what? At that moment of surrender, I felt good. I wish I could say I didn't, but I felt a wave of relief wash over me. No more hard decisions, no more danger, no more having to be brave. That makes it Cassie, Rachel, and me in favor, Marco said. 3-2, unless Axe is voting. I follow Prince Jake, Axe said. Maybe, Tobias began. Maybe if some of the human race survives on another planet, maybe it'll be like when they brought the wolves back to live in the national parks. I mean, maybe someday we can return and take Earth back. Are you changing your vote, Tobias? Jake asked him. Jake, you know I would never run from a fight. We all just sat there staring at nothing. We were going to do it. We were going to abandon the fight. We all knew it. Jake hung his head. Elemist, he said softly to the air. We have decided. The answer is yes. The Elemist had said we would be transported immediately once we decided. I expected my next breath to be drawn on some distant planet. But nothing happened. Nothing at all. I can't tell you how weird it was going to school the next day, sitting in class, trying to pay attention while my teacher, Miss Paloma, talked about what led up to the Second World War. Maybe if the United States had been ready to fight earlier, she said, the war would have ended earlier and fewer people would have been killed. But our country wanted peace. I just kept looking at her and wondering, was that your skeleton draped across the desk? What was the point of going to school? What was the point in anything? I'd seen the future. I knew how it all turned out. The human race was done for. Finished. That was where our long history led, to a yerk pool. Because we're so devoted to peace, we may have actually made the war worse, Miss Paloma droned on. We never know for sure, of course. We can't second-guess history. You can if you're an Elemist, I thought. If you're an Ellimist, you could look ahead and see it all. Why not? It was Cassie's voice. I glanced across the room at her. She had the same look of confusion I'd seen the day before. The frustrated look, like she sensed something she couldn't quite grasp yet. Why can't you second-guess history? I mean, if you could go back and change the things so the U.S. was ready to fight earlier. Miss Paloma sat on the edge of her desk. Because events are intertwined in ways we cannot always see, Cassie. Sometimes small things can make huge differences. You know, they say that a single butterfly beats its wings in China may affect the way the wind blows here in our country. A single butterfly beating its wings may make a tiny change that becomes a bigger change that becomes a tornado. The world isn't like arithmetic. It isn't just 1 + 1 = 2. It's more complicated than that. And then the oddest thing happened. Miss Paloma looked right at me, right into my eyes. Much more complicated than that, she said. A single butterfly. A single butterfly. A single butterfly. The hair on the back of my neck was tingling, and everyone was looking at her like she was crazy. Suddenly, Miss Paloma shook her head, like she was popping out of a trance. She smiled a confused smile. Okay, well, anyway, you all have the reading assignments. The bell rang, and I practically jerked up out of my seat. Cassie threaded her way through the kids who were rushing out of the room. Okay, tell me that wasn't weird, Cassie whispered. I thought maybe I was imagining it, I said. Besides, who knows what's weird anymore? I'm sitting here waiting for the you-know-who to suddenly zap us out of here. Cassie nodded. So why hasn't he? Out in the fast-moving crush of bodies in the hall, we made our way to the lockers. I don't know, I said as I spun my combination lock. We decided to say yes. We're giving him what he wants. I popped my locker open. Unless, Cassie said, unless maybe that wasn't the answer he wanted, I finished her thought. Because it's nuts, Cassie said, frowning. Everything he did made it look like he wanted us to say yes. He appears the first time right as we're about to be swallowed by a... She looked around to make sure no one could overhear her. Just as we're about to be swallowed. I mean, come on. Obviously, he must have figured out we'd want to bail. We might have, I said, except we saw that drop shaft. So we thought we could escape. Otherwise... I stopped talking. I stared at Cassie. She stared back. He showed us the drop shaft, Cassie said. Why? I wondered out loud. Why? What is he doing with us? He appears when we're desperate. He says he doesn't interfere and gives us a choice. Then he lets us see a way out. What's all this about? Then he gives us another chance. He shows us the future. He shows us you, basically. You in the future. So we know for sure that we must have decided to stay and fight. And we know we lost. And all of that means we have to say yes and let him take us away. So why have I been feeling like I've been missing something? The warning bell rang for the next period. This is insane, as Marco would say. Cassie laughed. Yeah, I have gym next period. At any moment I might be swooped away to another planet. But in the meantime, I'll have to go play volleyball. I watched her walk away. Then I hurried to my next class. A single butterfly, I thought. But how was the butterfly supposed to know when to beat her wings?